Thousands of households recycle their garden waste using a council-run collection service. But how many of those gardeners have ever wondered what happens to that waste once it's left the curbside? Putting your bin at the side of the road is just the start of a journey which turns what you throw away into something extremely useful. That journey begins inside one of our waste collection lorries. Now, you've probably seen one of these 1,000 times, but you might not appreciate just how sophisticated they are. For example, each cab is equipped with a computer terminal which tells the driver exactly which homes have signed up for garden waste collections. Drivers can also update the system as they go, reporting bins that are damaged or broken, or making a record of homes which have failed to put their bins out, or recording addresses where the bin was left unemptied because it was found to be contaminated. Closed-circuit TV cameras help drivers to see exactly what's going on at the back of their vehicle, so they know when it's safe to move off. Once the bin crew has completed its round, they drive to a nearby recycling facility, like this one in Chopwell. Here, garden waste from across the region is delivered for recycling into compost, in a process that's surprisingly simple. Each lorry tips out its cargo of grass cuttings, hedge trimmings, and all manner of other plant waste. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon for other waste items to be found mixed in among the garden waste, including plant trays, plastic sacks, and even black bin bags full of household rubbish. None of this can be recycled, and it's a laborious and costly job to remove it. Once the garden waste is deemed free of contaminants, the recycling process can get underway. The first stage is to pass the waste material through a powerful mechanical shredder. This breaks it down into much smaller pieces which will be easier to recycle. After passing through the shredder, the waste is then passed through a large rotating drum with holes in the sides. This is called a trommel, and it looks a bit like a giant washing machine drum. Small pieces of the shredded garden waste pass through the holes in the trommel and fall into storage bays underneath. This is then taken away for the next stage in the process. Anything too large is expelled into a separate pile, where it is gathered up and sent through the shredder again. Once everything has been shredded, it's carefully piled up into long, open heaps called windrows, and it's at this point that nature takes over. Over a period of weeks and months, natural bacteria go to work, digesting and breaking down the shredded plant material. It's basically the same process that you'll find taking place in your own garden compost bin, but on a much bigger scale. The composting process is so vigorous that it creates a good deal of heat, which raises the temperature of the windrow to up to 60 degrees Celsius. This means that on a cold day, the windrows are often wreathed in steam. Now, this heat is actually a real bonus, as it helps to kill off any harmful microbes, weeds or plant diseases which might be present. In the space of around 10 weeks, the natural composting process has pretty much run its course, and the material is now ready for the next stage. At this point, the compost is still fairly coarse, so it's tipped into a screening machine, which does a similar job to the trommel. This physically shakes and sifts the compost, sorting it and separating it into 3 distinct grades. The finest compost, which comes out on one side of the machine, will be sold to landscape gardeners for use as a soil improver, or will be mixed with sand for use as a base material on which to grow lawn turf. Farmers also use this to improve their grassland for their dairy and beef cattle. A slightly coarser compost comes out on the other side of the machine. This is typically used by farmers to enrich their arable land, to support crops such as wheat or barley. Landscape gardeners also find this useful as a mulch. Finally, any pieces that are deemed too large, or which haven't been composted, are removed via another conveyor belt. This will either be returned to the start of the process, or will be dried and used as biomass to produce either heat, electricity, or both. The final product is as natural as it could be, and every scrap of the waste you send for recycling can be transformed into rich, usable compost like this. Putting your garden waste back into the landscape is a greener, more efficient and much less expensive way of disposing of it. None of the alternatives contribute nearly as much to our environment as recycling. It's one small thing that everyone can do to make a real difference to the world around them.